forget, we can't do this alone. We are insisting that we involve the House of Representatives, and then we'll have a joint team that will go to South Africa to meet with the Parliament of South Africa. And for this, I don't mind if the Senate President has to lead. I don't mind if the Senate President has to lead. The lives of Nigerians are very, very important and crucial. And that is why we are here. We are here to protect the lives, the welfare, and the properties of Nigerians. This is just not acceptable. This is barbaric. This is crude. This is unheard of. This is Stone Age behavior. And we are not seeing action from the government of South Africa. That is the aspect that annoys me. We are not seeing action. So let's look at the prayers. Prayer 1, immediately engage in high-level diplomatic dialogue with the government of South Africa and Ghana. I don't know, why Ghana? Why Ghana?
Mr. President, we are experiencing the same attack in Ghana.
Huh?
The same attack in Ghana.
But they are doing the same thing to Botswana. They are doing
the same thing to Nigerians in Ghana.
Huh?
The same thing to Nigerians in Ghana.
Can we restrict ourselves to South Africa now?
South Africa. Okay.
So rephrase your motion. Let's restrict ourselves to South Africa. Prayer 1. Develop a comprehensive protection framework for Nigerians in the diaspora, including early warning mechanisms, diaspora distress coordination centers, enhanced legal and diplomatic defense structures for Nigerians facing persecution abroad, and evacuation protocols where necessary, as well as developing stronger regional enforcement and accountability mechanisms with ECOWAS and the African Union, and also the African Parliament, to deter xenophobia through imposition and appropriate diplomatic and legal actions to protect Africans generally across borders. Those in support of prayer to say aye. Amendment, yes.
I support you, but we must revoke the license of MTN, revoke the license of DSTV as an indication of our seriousness. Those people who have died, their life is much more than foreign investment. Labor. What are you talking? They are killing your people who say labor.
Those in support that was not the motion.
Dismiss it, but that's my view.
Those in support that was not the motion.
To bite.
Before us say aye. Those again say nay. That was not the motion.
I support you, but we must revoke the license of MTN, revoke the license of DSTV as an indication of our seriousness. Those people who have died, their life is much more than foreign investment.
Labor.
What are you talking? They are killing your people who say labor.
Those in support that was not the motion.
Dismiss it, but that's my view.
Those in support that was not the motion.
To bite.
Before us say aye. Those again say nay. That was not the motion. And in the stronger terms, the ongoing xenophobic attacks, persecution, intimidation, and acts of violence directed against Nigerians and other Africans in South Africa, describing such acts as barbaric, unacceptable, unlawful, morally reprehensible, and fundamentally inconsistent with the idea.
There is a dangerous moment in every relationship between nations. The moment anger becomes bigger than diplomacy. And right now, Africa may be watching one of those moments unfold between two of its biggest powers, Nigeria and South Africa. Because after weeks of rising xenophobic tensions, violent attacks, diplomatic outrage, protests, and retaliatory threats, reports have now emerged claiming that South Africa has officially shut down its embassy operations in Nigeria and ordered its ambassadors to return home within 24 hours. Now, let's separate emotion from reality first. As of early May 2026, reports confirm that diplomatic tensions between both countries have escalated sharply following renewed xenophobic violence in South Africa targeting African migrants, especially Nigerians. South Africa reportedly closed parts of its diplomatic mission operations in Nigeria after security threats and growing protests against South African interests. Nigeria, on the other hand, has begun voluntary evacuation plans for citizens wishing to leave South Africa. But despite the viral claims online, there is no confirmed evidence yet that South Africa has permanently cut off all diplomatic ties with Nigeria completely. Still, even temporary embassy shutdowns between two continental giants are not normal, not at all. And that alone shows how serious
Nigerians have taken to the streets of Lagos, Nigeria to protest the attacks on their brothers and sisters in South Africa. The angry protesters attacked South African business ShopRite with stones and destruction of property around the retailer since they were unable to access its building.
We have to come here when the whole incident started happening, and we've been here. Police have been trying to take control of the place and try to also protect the property that belongs to the same people who have been killing us. The Nigerian government, they are trying to support support what is happening to protect the life and property of those people, while our Nigerian people are dying. Our people are dying on a daily basis.
We are protesting because of what South African government are doing to Nigerians. We are not happy over it because we are good citizens. We partnership with them. They own ShopRite, they own MTN, they own GoTV.
Xenophobia in South Africa and Nigeria economic response. A critical take. Xenophobia has remained one of the most troubling social and political issues in post-apartheid South Africa. Over the years, violent attacks against African migrants, particularly Nigerians, Zimbabweans, Somalis, Ethiopians and Mozambicans have repeatedly damaged the country's image as the Rainbow Nation. Among the groups most affected are Nigerians living and working in South Africa. These attacks have not only caused loss of lives and property, but have also strained diplomatic and economic relations between Nigeria and South Africa. At the same time, debates have emerged around how Nigeria should respond to persistent xenophobic attacks. Some commentators and political voices have suggested that Nigeria should retaliate economically by attempting to nationalize or seize South African business interests operating within Nigeria. Since major South African corporations such as MTN Group, ShopRite Holdings, and MultiChoice have significant investment in Nigeria, the argument is that economic pressure could force South Africa to take stronger action against xenophobia. This write-up examines the root of xenophobic in South Africa, its impact on Nigerians, and the controversial idea of Nigeria nationalizing South Africa shares or assets. It argues that while Nigeria has legitimate reasons to protect its citizens and economic interests, aggressive economic retaliation may create more harm than benefit. Instead, both nations should pursue diplomatic engagement, regional cooperation, and economic reforms to address the deeper causes of xenophobia. Let's look at the historical background of xenophobia in South Africa. Xenophobia in South Africa did not begin recently. Its roots can be traced to the apartheid era and the socio-economic inequalities that continue after apartheid ended in 1994. Under apartheid, South Africa has experienced deep racial segregation, economic exclusion, unemployment, and violence. Although democracy brought political freedom, economic inequality remained severe. After apartheid, South Africa became one of the African leading economies, attracting migrants from across the continent. Many Africans migrated to South Africa, seeking employment, business opportunities, education, and safety. Nigerians, in particular, became active in sectors such as telecommunication, entertainment, retail trade, education, and small-scale entrepreneurship. However, many poor South Africans began to see foreign nationals as competitors for jobs, housing, healthcare, and business opportunities. The resentment worsened because of 1. High unemployment rates, 2. Poverty and inequalities, 3. Poor service delivery, and 4. Corruption and weak governance. You can also see political rhetoric blaming foreigners for crime and unemployment. As a result of periodic xenophobic attacks erupted across South Africa cities such as Johannesburg, Durban, and Pretoria. Foreign-owned shops were looted, homes destroyed, and innocent people attacked or killed. The major outbreaks in 2008, 2015, and 2019 shocked the African continent. Nigerians were among the victims, leading to diplomatic tensions between Nigeria and South Africa. Nigerians in South Africa. Nigerians form one of the most viable or visible African immigrant communities in South Africa. Many Nigerians moved there for education, trade, entertainment, and professional opportunities. Some have become successful entrepreneurs, students, academics, and professionals. Unfortunately, Nigerians are often stereotyped negatively in South Africa media and public discourse. Some South Africans associate Nigerians with drug trafficking, internet fraud, and organized crime. While criminal activity exists among individuals, as in every society, generalizing an entire nationality has contributed to hatred and discrimination. These stereotypes have intensified public hostility. Nigeria-owned businesses have frequently been targeted during xenophobic violence. Many Nigerians have reported harassment, police brutality, discrimination, and insecurity. Nigerian government has repeatedly condemned these attacks and evacuated citizens during periods of unrest. Civil society organizations and student groups in Nigeria have also protested against South African businesses operating in Nigeria. Economic relations between Nigeria and South Africa. Despite political tensions, Nigeria and South Africa maintain strong economic ties. They are the two largest economies in Africa and play central roles in continental politics and trade. South African companies have invested heavily in Nigeria. Examples include MTN Group in telecommunications, MultiChoice in satellite television and entertainment, Shoprite Holdings in retail, Stanbic IBTC Holdings in banking and finance. Nigeria provides a massive consumer market for these businesses. In fact, Nigeria has been one of MTN's most profitable markets. At the same time, Nigeria companies and individuals also engage in investments and commercial activities in South Africa, though on a smaller scale. Economic relations between both countries demonstrate a level of interdependence. Therefore, political tensions can have serious economic consequences for businesses, workers, and investors in both countries. The ideal of nationalizing South Africa shares. The suggestion that Nigeria should nationalize South African assets or shares emerged largely as a reaction to xenophobic violence. Many Nigerians argue that if South African authorities could not adequately protect Nigerians, then Nigeria should retaliate economically. Nationalization refers to the process by which a government takes ownership or control of private assets or industries, usually in the public interest. Historically, countries have nationalized industries such as oil, mining, transportation, and banking. Supporters of nationalization argue that 1. it will protect national pride. Many Nigerians feel humiliated by repeated attacks on fellow Africans in South Africa. Economic retaliation is viewed as a way to defend national dignity and show that Nigeria will not tolerate mistreatment of its citizens. 2. They support that South African companies benefit greatly from Nigeria. Companies like MTN generate billions of dollars from Nigerian consumers. Critics argue that South Africa benefits economically from Nigeria while Nigerians suffer violence in South Africa. 3. Economic pressure could face political action. Some believe that targeting South African investment will pressure the South Africa government to take stronger measures against xenophobia. 4. It could promote local ownership. Nationalization could theoretically allow Nigerian investors or the government to take greater control of strategic sectors of the economy. Argument against nationalization. Although emotionally appealing to some citizens, nationalizing South Africa shares carries serious risks and implications. 1. Damage to foreign investment. Nigeria depends heavily on foreign investment for economic growth, employment, and infrastructure development. If Nigeria begins seizing foreign-owned assets, international investors may lose confidence in the country. This could lead to 1. Capital flight, 2. Reduced foreign direct investment, 3. Higher unemployment, and 4. Economic instability. Investors generally avoid countries where property rights are uncertain. 2. Violation of international law. Nationalization without proper legal procedures and compensation could violate international investment agreements and trade laws. South African companies could sue Nigeria in international courts or arbitration tribunals. This could damage Nigeria's international reputation and diplomatic standing. 3. Harm to Nigerian workers. Many South African companies employ thousands of Nigerians. For example, MTN Nigeria employs large numbers of local workers and support numerous contractors and businesses. Aggressive retaliation could result in job losses, business closures, reduced tax revenue, and economic disruption. Ironically, ordinary Nigerians might suffer more than South African investors. 4. Escalation of diplomatic tensions. Economic retaliation could worsen tensions between the two countries and encourage retaliatory actions from South Africa. Such conflict could weaken African unity and cooperation. Xenophobia is a complex social problem. Xenophobia cannot be solved purely through economic punishment. The issue is rooted in unemployment, inequality, poor governance, and social frustration within South Africa. Without addressing these deeper problems, retaliatory policies may fail to stop future violence. Alternative solution: rather than nationalization, Nigeria and South Africa can pursue more constructive approaches. Like 1. Diplomatic engagement. Nigeria should continue diplomatic pressure through bilateral negotiation, African Union intervention, economic and political dialogue, protection agreements for migrants. Strong diplomatic channels can help ensure accountability and improve security for foreign nationals. African regional cooperation. The problem of xenophobia threatens the vision of African unity promoted by organizations such as the African Union. African governments should strengthen cross-border cooperation, migration policies, human rights protection, regional economic integration. The African Continental Free Trade aims to encourage greater economic cooperation across the continent. Xenophobia directly undermines this vision. Public education and social awareness. South Africa must address misinformation and stereotypes about foreigners. Media organizations, schools, churches, and political leaders should promote tolerance, and African solidarity. Leaders must avoid inflammatory rhetoric that blames migrants for economic problems. Economic reform in South Africa. South Africa government must confront the structural causes of xenophobia, including youth unemployment, poverty, housing shortages, and economic inevitability. The role of African unity. The conflict between Nigeria and South Africa highlights broader challenges facing Africa. Both countries played major roles in anti-colonial struggles and African liberation movements. Nigeria strongly supported South Africa during apartheid by providing financial aid, diplomatic support, and scholarship to South Africans in exile. Many Nigerians therefore feel betrayed by xenophobic attacks in South Africa. However, retaliation and hostility between Africa's two largest economies could weaken the continent politically and economically. African unity requires mutual respect, protection of human rights, and peaceful conflict resolution. Instead of division, Nigeria and South Africa should cooperate on resolution. Instead of division, Nigeria and South Africa should cooperate on one, trade, should cooperate on security, on education, technology, cultural exchange, and youth employment initiatives. Strong cooperation between the two nations will benefit the entire continent. In conclusion, xenophobia in South Africa represents a serious moral, political, and economic challenge. Nigerians living in South Africa have repeatedly faced violence, discrimination, and insecurity, creating anger and frustration within Nigeria. In response, some Nigerians have proposed nationalizing South African shares and assets as a form of economic retaliation. Although such proposals may reflect genuine frustration, patriotic sentiment, nationalization could create severe economic and diplomatic consequences. It risks damaging investor confidence, harming Nigerian workers, violating international law, and escalating tensions between two major African powers. The long-term solution lies not only in retaliation, but in addressing the root causes of xenophobic through economic reform, diplomatic engagement, public education, and stronger African cooperation. Nigeria and South Africa must recognize that their futures are interconnected. As leading African nations, they have a responsibility to promote unity, stability, and mutual respect across the continent. Ultimately, defeating xenophobia requires more than political speeches or economic threats. It requires building societies where human dignity, equality, and African solidarity are valued above fear, prejudice, and division. I'm Adil Latoba from Political Brief. Let's subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.